Hello and welcome to the Unprofessional Opinion with the Pink Blanket. Okay, anyway, I don't agree with the DSM on a lot of things because if one person has one disorder, having a whole cluster of disorders is just not logical and it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so you either have one thing or you have another thing or you have, yeah. Okay, so anyway, before I try to look at somebody for a mental disorder when I'm locked up with them, I make sure they aren't actively psychotic and they know where they are because those two things will really throw you off if you take them into account. Anyway, personality disorders will show signs of general maladaptation, and basically, like, you'll be able to pin them down by what signs they have. Like an antisocial personality disorder will basically have an FU attitude. Schizotypo will be off in outer space, and that's kind of how you tell them apart. They also have comorbid conditions that make them a little more obvious, too. Okay, depression and their disorders that go with them make sense why they would have them. Depression is a little different. You'll see low self-esteem, low self-worth. They'll hear voices in their head that are like, "You're neglecting your house, you're worthless." Okay, it's a little different than paranoid schizophrenia, but I'll get into that in a little bit. You'll see them also have depersonalization and derealization, yes, anyway. Okay, and anxiety disorders are next. PTSD will almost always have a history of like pretty moderate to severe abuse, and that's how you pin it down. And it will also be distinct in that they will be angry, but in a kind of weird way. Now this gets confused with bipolar disorder, but I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, anxiety disorders might have a root cause in a medical condition, or they might just be from a personality that takes things very very personally. So anyway, like young teenage girls often have anxiety disorders because they're like, I'm not pretty enough, they're not gonna think I'm ugly. Okay, next is bipolar. You'll find that they've almost always gone through a period of deep depression, and they balance this out with extreme manias. Okay, these manias aren't just like a little party hardy here or there. They're like sleeping with like 100 men, or like freaking, that throws up a flag, or like extreme binge drinking or something else. It has to be pretty extreme. How you separate that from anxiety disorders? That anxiety disorders will have ritualistic behaviors, and they'll have explosions as well, because you can't feel all that paranoia without going boom. But anxiety disorders will be more ritualistic, and bipolar will be more disorganized, like, yeah, anyway. Okay, schizophrenia will show signs of memory problems and language problems, and you'll see social withdrawal, apathy, a lot of odd behaviors. Since paranoid schizophrenia appears to be a progressive form of PTSD, it's anxiety, and those are what those voices are. And they will cause that person to suffer massive amounts of anxiety. They're out to get you. They're out to get you. They're out to get you. Okay, yes. Anyway, that's why you see them do ritualistic behaviors and stuff. It's typical with anxiety. It's just really how far it's progressed, to the point where the stress has damaged the brain. You might not agree with me, but several other people on YouTube say the same thing, and in basic medical literature. I'm not just citing YouTube, trust me. Anyway, but the problem with modern day technology is that everything is just so disorganized. You cannot pin anything down, because they'll be like, well, on Twinkle Toes, on planet Mars, there's another institution that believes this and that, and the exception proves the rule. And it's like, what's the general rule? I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, I'm just saying. I mean, what happens most of the time? If you're locked up with people, you'll figure this out. Next, you have other schizophrenias schizophrenia is really just a symptom of brain deterioration, and you'll find that it has all sorts of other causes, like drugs, head injuries, hypoxia injuries, viruses, you name it, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that brings me to my next one, which is developmental disorders, which you can distinguish by poor motor skills, muscle tone, and general learning problems. Now, if they don't have all that, they probably just have an LD. But in this day and age, they're all getting labeled with developmental disorders, like pretty severe ones. Like you'll see PDD NOS on them, and it's like he has an LD. Okay, a learning disability. Okay, autism is different, and you'll be able to find them by their thoughts. They'll have very literal view on the world, and they're different than what I perceive to be schizophrenics, in that they will have linear ideas. They'll just be very strange. You'll see very strange to us. You'll see them think that the whole world thinks like them, and you'll see them just have problems with that. You'll see stimming that isn't appropriate for age or internal or external stimuli, and stuff like that with them too. Yes. So anyway, that's my unprofessional opinion on mental disorders. And, you know, I'm not a doctor or anything, so don't take me seriously, but that's how I screen them. A lot of times I don't think that they are what the DSM is like. Just the doctors are just throwing disorder upon disorder upon disorder upon people, and it doesn't make sense. That cluster is not logical.